Chapter 2. How It All Started. Asheria 3rd, 2200 Michaelan Century. The next day, the news spread throughout the continent like wildfire. The very first to receive it was the Grand Duchy of Daphnal's Grand Duke, Sir Hugo von Daphnal, and his granddaughter Esmeralda Mabel Daphnal. Interesting. Hugo was drinking tea as he was reading Aeneas' message to all allied nations. Once he finished, he stood up and approached his granddaughter. He said, "Something really big is about to happen, child. It seems that Lord Aeneas has an ambitious idea, according to this letter. I will read just this part out loud." Meanwhile, Esmeralda was practicing her archery skills as she began to listen to her grandfather read out loud the contents of the letter. She then let loose an arrow. "I'm listening." Her arrow then hits the center of the target. Her grandfather starts reading. "On my authority of Prince Regent of this country, I propose the start of this continental alliance together, one where we can all support each other for years to come." As Esmeralda went to grab another arrow, she stopped midway. "A continental alliance? That's something I never thought he'd come up with. Actually, has a continental alliance ever existed in all of Odgard's history?" Her grandfather then responded, "No. If we're talking about ever since the founding of the 6 countries of Odgard, then never. There were always just pacts and treaties, but never such large-scale continental alliances. If Lord Aeneas succeeds, this will be one of the largest alliances in history. Literally." Esmeralda prepares her next shot as she smiles. "What's the name of this ambitious alliance?" Her grandfather replied, "The United Legion of Odgard." Esmeralda then shoots. The arrow then hits her target. Bullseye. She turns around towards her grandfather and said, "We should join this cause. What say you, grandfather?" Her grandfather then chuckled. "I wonder where did that child get such an ambitious idea, although I am quite skeptical about all this. I will see this through the end. Count me in." Next was the Holy Kingdom of Midgardius. The news was then received by Crown Princess Minerva Ann Midgardius. As she was headed towards the throne room to see her grandfather, she was reading the contents of the letter. "What?" Minerva was so shocked that she accidentally shouted really loud, making others seem like she was in trouble. The guards then rushed towards her and asked, "Are you okay, milady? You look pale." Oh, it's nothing. I'm just in shock, that's all." Minerva couldn't believe that her friend Aeneas was doing such an unexpected move. She then said, "I'll see you later to that practice. My apologies for scaring you." "Right, milady. Long live Midgardius." The crown princess walked away. She then thought to herself, "Well, Aeneas never fails to impress me, with his stupidity, of course. But this time, he went really far. Was he even sober when he thought about this? She then started running towards the throne room upstairs to meet with her grandfather, so she can show him the contents of the letter. It's not like him at all. However, this isn't such a bad idea at all. There has never been such a grand opportunity like this for everyone in the past. She finally arrived at the throne room and said, I like where this is going. Wait till grandfather hears this. The other remaining letters arrived at the Dukedom of Marcian, the Izumo Union, the State of Constantina, the Kingdom of Thrace, the Kingdom of Drust, the Kingdom of Augustia, and lastly, the Empire of Thebes. Asheria 4th, 2200 Michaelan century. The next day, Aeneas went to his office after getting a message from his retainer, Reinhard. He stepped inside, and there he was, carrying lots of papers for the prince to review. Aeneas, I have letters from the nations you told me to send them to regarding the formation of the alliance. He placed all the papers and letters on his desk. Aeneas was in shock. Seriously? That was fast. Well, I'll be reading them right now. Alright. I have more news, most likely regarding the contents of these letters. But I will explain the rest after you finish reading them. Reinhard left the papers on his desk and then left the room. Now then, let's see. Aeneas began to separate the forms, papers, and letters before reading. Whoa. Well, let's start with this one. After 3 hours of filling out forms, papers, and reading each letter from the countries, Aeneas came outside and walked to the backyard where Reinhard was waiting. Hello, my lord. How did it go? Could be worse, but I'm totally feeling it. Meaning what exactly? Aeneas smiled and replied, meaning that this might actually turn out to be better than I thought. Reinhard smiled a bit. Interesting. Let's go over these letters then. So who will join and who will not? Aeneas then cleared his throat. So, from what I understand from these letters, the Grand Duke has accepted my proposal without disagreements, as expected. I wasn't thinking the old man would do that, though, to be honest. He was quite difficult to please, as you know. Aeneas continued to read. Okay. Next, King Hans of Megarius also accepted my proposal. He seems content with the idea of nations working together. I'm glad. Go on. Reinhard then took a sip from his tea. Aeneas continued. The president of Constantina liked the idea of joining up on an alliance, but wanted more time to think about it. As you know, they have a famous history of being neutral for nearly 2,300 years. That's like longer than Chimera's hiatus. Reinhard was then confused. Who are you talking about? The prince then pulled out a book from his sweater. He's the guy who wrote this amazing manga called Berserker Unlimited. However, he went on a hiatus for a pretty long time, probably much longer than my 20 years of existence. Even my old man knows him. He's from Mizumo. Ever heard of him? Reinhard was even more puzzled and slowly shook his head, saying no. No, that's too bad. Anyways, I'll continue. Sorry about that. Aeneas then put his book away and continued on describing the contents of each letter from the countries. Where were we? Oh, right. Here. We have a problem. The Dukedom of Martian. What happened? What did they say? Reinhard then put down his cup. I was really betting on them joining us since we've improved relations lately, but they declined the proposal without question, wishing not to be associated with the Kingdom of Margardius. Called it. Reinhard then sighed in disappointment. Well, even if we may have close relations, they don't have the best relations with Midgardius, my lord. I hope you did consider that. Aeneas sighed. Well, that's a good point. Damn it. They both have a long way to improve their relations. Anyway, please continue, my lord. Moving on. The Kingdom of Thrace declined the proposal, saying that they are fine on their own for now, but will consider it in the future. This also means that the Thracian sector, the area they control, and the whole Genova district will also be bound to this decision as well. Now, the Izumo Union seems to have a complicated case. Reinhardt looked at Aeneas. I get it. Did one of the states disagree? That's the thing. So, according to the letter, the son of the emperor, Ise no Katsura, who is currently the shogun of the country's army, states that he definitely loved this idea of an alliance where all countries work together, but Reinhardt then got a bit tense and replied, but what? And I'll read the most important part. Aeneas began to read. Out of all the 5 states, only the states of Mikatsuki and Akatsuki rejected this plan, while our 3 states will officially support your cause and join your alliance. The states of Mikazuki and Akatsuki will not join us, meaning that only the states of Takeda, Masamune, and Yusan will join your alliance. I apologize on their behalf, Sir Aeneas. I look forward to working together with you. Reinhard then calmed down. For a second, I thought they were going to say no, but just 3 states. Not. But then Aeneas brightened up and said, no, this is perfect. This just shows that the great shogun of Izumo does support our cause. This was not for vain after all. You have a point. Were you always this smart? Aeneas gave him a look before he sighed. Frankly, I was a bit nervous. I was definitely thinking that none of the states would join us, but it's turned out perfect in the end. Reinhardt nodded in approval, but then remembered something. What about the King of Augustria? The Prince of Augustria supports our cause and wants to join our alliance. The country governs the Troy sector of the Genova district. He said they will work together and will make our alliance prosperous. Starting next month, they will improve their military and send more troops to Troy. Reinhardt was excited. This is excellent. We have powerful allies on our side. You've really done it now. Aeneas smiled weakly, but then got serious. Unfortunately, though, the Empire did not reply to our letter. It seems that they don't have any intention of joining us, even with the benefits I've written there, alas. Reinhardt then went to comfort him. Everything's all right. You did your best, my friend. We can come up with another plan later. There's still one more country we have to go over, and that is the kingdom of Just. Aeneas then had a worried expression. About that, they also didn't respond, and frankly speaking, I'm worried about that. Reinhardt was then puzzled. Well, why? It was expected to be, no? Aeneas then gulped, but with a determined expression, he went to tell Reinhardt the truth. I'll say it right now. I was in contact with the Prince of Just by exchanging letters.